occupying my time that isn't reading. But yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't actually read very often because it's quite a chore for me as I am dyslexic.
Right, I understand that. Sometimes I have to read the same sentence over for 5 minutes just to understand it. I have that problem, and I'm just a slow reader in general. But I like to
Okay.
read. I try to read to keep my mind active as much as possible. Because if I don't, I'm just like, oh, what can I do now? Oh, I can take a nap and start being that, you know, yeah, I shouldn't take a nap that long. Yay, Copper's here. How's it going, Copper?
Just waiting for you to finish. Hmm.
That I just did. That's why I asked how it was going.
Oh, well. Well, let me answer that with a response that's required. I'm doing well. Thank you. How is
Good to
Soul?
hear.
I'm doing okay.
I'm good. And forgive me, but I'm chowing down on spaghetti right now.
Nom 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 nom.
And and unfortunately, I think I just undercooked the noodles by about 2 minutes.
Oh, that's never good.
No,
Gotta cook those suckers.
they're a
At least
little
you're not in
tough.
Germany. Germany's
They're
got some weird custom with spaghetti.
they're very starchy. Um. Anyways, hello and welcome to the Pony Life Reviews for those who are joining us today. Today we'll be reviewing 3 episodes in particular. One second. Try to remember the titles. We'll be reviewing Bad Things, number 3, Pinkie Pie Hyper Helper, parts 1 and 2, and The Trail Less Trodden, and Death of a Sales Pony. Kind of a double header, if you will. So technically,
Kind of,
we'll be reviewing 4 episodes, but
yeah.
we'll be reviewing 3 broadcasted episodes.
Yeah.
We will start off, of course, with Bad Thing number 3. The premise, of course, is Rarity doing her own thing, and, well, yeah, that's kind of
Doing
pretty
her
much the
own
premise.
thing.
Yeah,
What happens? The main premise is Rarity is dreading a trot with uh the fashion pony. Well, not fashion pony, but uh first class pony. I'll say Fancy Pants, who in this series does not have fleur de lis around him all the time, but she had a, let's say, mishap with a potion, which, as we've discussed before, potions have a very big role in this series, but has a mishap with a potion at the beginning that quote unquote makes something bad happen. Change, in this case, it changed her blue bandana to being red. And Fancy Pants says that bad things always happen in threes, but he hopes that on their trot tomorrow, their stroll through the park, as it was, that he hopes that one of the bad things of three that happen in pairs in uh, a whole set of three, that one does not happen on their stroll through the park tomorrow. So throughout the whole episode, Rarity is fretting over these three bad things happening, believing one will happen on their stroll through the park. Yeah.
Well, interesting thing is, when the potion gets spilled on her bandana or silk, whatever she had tied around her head, it then got a power that the potion would have of self-reflection in a way.
Right. Kind of let you see into yourself for a moment and see what was more or less wrong with you, I guess, in a way. Almost kind of like a future sense, but more of a in depth of yourself. And that happened with all the ponies who wore it. But Yeah, it was a in-depth reflection. Pinky did it, and Fluttershy did it. I liked Fluttershy's because we didn't really get to see it so much, but it's like, oh, I already knew all that stuff about myself. I didn't learn anything. I was like, that's fantastic. Fluttershy already knows that she's a raging monster inside.
So anyway, after that, Rarity throws the bandana into a closet to hide it away, while she tries to make the third bad thing, happen before she goes on this walk.
Right. She tries to find a friendship problem with the piece of cake between Rainbow and Twilight. She tries to steal the Pinkie Pie's recipe for her souffle cake, and she just miserably fails. First off, Rainbow and Twilight don't have any problem. They can easily fix, their whatever their not argument so much as whatever their
Cake. It's about cake.
yeah, they just kind of figure it out. And personally, I think Twilight really likes cake and Rainbow doesn't. From the two pieces of cake I noticed, I'm like, somebody's just smaller here, and that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, and then Gummy is her natural enemy, and she's been flinging him around most of the episode, mostly ignoring him. He stops Rarity from messing up the souffle recipe of Pinky's. And
that's indeed odd about the show, is the fact that Gummy now actually has, definitely he shows far more intelligence in this series than he did in the previous series. Even though we did have that one particular episode where we get an insight into what he's thinking, while
episode 100.
Yep.
Episode 100, the background pony episode, where we actually hear what Gummy's thinking inside that hollow head of his that must be made of a brain somewhere, because he thinks of some of these deep spots, and but what about a gator's flank, which is always blank? It's cutie mark, like cutie marks are binding and such. And I'm thinking Gummy would be a really good, psychiatrist. Really good. He'd be better than Freud. But I digress, because also he'd be an alligator, and you're talking to him, and he's got no teeth.
But when you think about it,
confusing.
Most of the characters, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. I gotta stop eating spaghetti. But you gotta think about it, is most of our characters have been, in quote unquote, dumbed down, whereas Gummy, he's went up a few points here.
I think.
Well,
go ahead.
The way I see it is like, instead of having Twilight, the main character, it's right now Pinkie Pie in her area instead of the library. With Twilight, it's in Sugar Cube Corner, and Spike has become Gummy in a way.
I'm gonna say something here that I kind of knows. It's kind of a little bit, kind of what with what Copper said, dumbed down. But I've noticed that I'm guessing Ponyville, because I freeze framed a couple times in the first episode. Pinkie Pie is looking out from Sugar Cube Corner, which happens to be separated by a bridge of water, which never happened in the last series, in the Gen 4 series. And then she looks out across the town. I noticed that the whole town is made out of confectionery things. There's something that looks like a box of popcorn. There's another thing that looks like an upside down ice cream cone. The only normal things are the two ships that are in the.
So what are you saying? Like, you're saying like Pinkie Pie, like baked, are the town that we once loved?
It looks like it. It looks like somebody came in, slapped down some ice cream, popcorn, and cake, and now that's what the town is. Where she's at Sugar Cube Corner, if you look at the other end, it looks like another Sugar Cube Corner, but it's on the other opposite end of the map. There's nothing there that looks like an actual building.
And
or hear me out. Instead of the world actually being that way, we're seeing it through Pinkie Pie's eyes, and she just sees the world as this sugary delight
that's even worse because she also pictures flying pieces of land just in the middle of nowhere. Because if you look behind on or to the top right corner of the image before she looks out on our confectionery Ponyville, as if you will, you see just this random floating piece of land. So her whole world is just disconnected if that's the case. But I digress, and let's actually get back to the topic at hand. I'm sorry, I went way off on that tangent there. Let's get back to bad things number 3.
Well,
So after
go ahead.
after Rarity fretting over all these things, and fighting Gummy, she just, kind of gives in like, oh, there's something bad that's going to happen on, my trip. But she goes back into her brain as the bandana, scarf, whatever you want to call it, falls on her head again. She goes back into her self-conscious, introspective world, meeting herself again, and her fake self, her in-self world, kind of freaks her out and thinks that, makes her think that time on the outside passes faster than time on the inside, which I thought was kind of funny because it's like she gets the scarf off and Twilight's like, you've been out for 35 seconds. Well, Rarity's freaking out thinking that a week to a century has passed, and Fancy Pants has trotted off along with some other pony, and she feels that she doesn't deserve to, be in the position that she's in, to know with Fancy Pants, to go on a stroll with them, to have good friends such as the friend she has.
They kind of, the whole basis of the show, it feels a lot like Lesson 0 that we had back in season 2, but it highlights a little bit more on Magic being the I don't want to say mediator, because not really someone that's helping two sides of the party, but rather almost like talking to a psychiatrist, if you will.
Well, yeah, that's what the introspective was. They seem kind of psychiatrists in the way, but kind of bad psychiatrists, kind of like good cop, bad cop, but there's no good cop in this. There's just bad cop. It's the introspective version of Rarity is a psychiatrist, but not a good one. Just a bad psychiatrist. Instead of Dr. Freud, it's Dr. Freud. Dr. Fraud.
See, what I got from this episode was it's quite a lot like anxiety. It's a good representation because you do worry about things that might not even happen. And so it's crippling and you get stuck in your own mind worrying about these things. But sometimes you just have to ignore the anxiety and just do the thing and see how it turns out.
I agree with that. I've had that problem at work so many times. There's so many things on my plate that my mind is racing, and I'm like, I've got so many things still to get done before the night is over, and I just feel like there's not enough time to do all of it, but eventually, usually I get at least most of it done, if not all. But yeah, anxiety, big part in this, and after Rarity finally gets over her quote anxiety and is not looking forward to bad things but good things, the episode ends, and bad thing number 3, she says, is her stroll with Fancy Pants, that he's the bad thing, that he's number 3, and he, in his pompous state, he thinks he's the best. He noticed somebody really great himself, me, and
the respect for Fancy Pants here is just like 0 from me. And it's just like horrible.
Yeah, he says, and Rarity says that he's the number 3, and he's like, "Oh, that can't be right. I never come in 3rd place." I'm like, "Right, you come in even later than 3rd. You sure don't come in 1st or 2nd on my list." But except for the one time you were directing the orchestra in the Countess Coloratura episode in season 4. That was pretty good acting right there, because they couldn't see your face, but it was definitely you.
It's
But
almost
that's
like he was replaced with Celestia's nephew.
I don't know about that. I think just as like we said, the characters are more or less dumbed down. It seems like it's a generation for a younger audience, and you can't have it. You don't have a Celestia. You have Celestia in this series. I've yet to see Luna. If she's there, I've totally missed her. But yeah, so it's just like there's just Celestia. It's like, oh, where's Luna? Are the little kids scared of Luna or something? Um,
Tia is best, so they only bring her back.
Lies. Luna, best pony, best princess.
I live for the night. Thank you. Batman's awake at night, so yeah, Batman. That's all I
I'm
need to say about that.
outnumbered.
Yes, you are by everybody.
No, not just in this call, but not in the total Omega Republic
I
Discord.
bet more of us in the Omega Republic for Luna. We need to run a poll. See who likes most of which of the princesses, not just Celestia and Luna. Throw in what's her face, Princess Miyamori, Condensa, Cadence, and Twilight. See where the poll lines up. Can we do polls
Don't
here?
forget the baby one too.
That doesn't count. She didn't
No. We are not
do
including
anything.
that little freak of nature.
We're not including that because that's unfair. Because everybody likes babies.
I don't.
Babies
I
are
do
so
not.
cute.
Nope.
Well, I have nothing against babies. I'd rather not have to, deal with them, but a lot of people do. They like babies. They're so cute. Oh, he hit his head on the side of the table. Now he has a protuberance up there. Oh, bless his heart. He keeps running to the wall. Oh, bless his heart. Bless his little heart.
Okay, when
Yeah,
Florey Heart
and-
first appeared, she had not just wings and a horn, but she had full-grown eyes. Sorry for the language, but the eyes should not have been that way for a newborn foal. I don't care if they are a unicorn or not. I don't care if they
Okay,
are.
I don't-
Same deal.
I don't mind-
They said the same thing.
I don't mind the eyes. It's just the inconsistency in art style that annoys me.
My problem was that she already had full-blown powers. Come on, you can't fly that well when you're right born. It doesn't work that way. Does not work that way. Sorry.
The only thing we can agree on is that Shining Armor was hilarious in that state.
Hilarious. Yes, Shining Armor was hilarious.
I feel like I've had a stroke. I don't know what's going on with me today.
Spaghetti, that's the problem.
Yeah, spaghetti.
Because you had uncooked noodles.
Oh yeah,
That's your problem.
The starch went to my brain.
But anyways, let's try to get back on subject. I know that.
No.
Anyway.
No, we will forever off track everything.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying maybe we should try a poll sometime later in between now and.
A poll.
Anyway.
What are you a stripper now or what?
Shut up, Copper. Anyway, so like I said, it ends with Rarity, now everything's good on her. She kind of more or less deserts Fancy Pants because he was bad thing number 3, which refers back to the episode. Moving on to the next one, Pinkie Pie and Hyper Helper, parts 1 and 2. Once again, this kind of goes back to the last episode where anxiety is the main factor of disappointment and inconsistency because, like I said, I've got so many things to do and not enough time to make it all happen. I mean, that happens in regular life for a lot of people. It's like, I've got so many things to do in a 24-hour period. The day isn't long enough. We always think, oh, if the day was only 52 hours long, I could get everything I need done. And I hit that a lot. That happens constantly. The day is not long enough to get everything done that I need to get done. Who else
Yeah,
has this problem?
It's definitely the problem of not being able to say no when people ask you for something.
Yeah. Don't be a yes man or yes woman or yes person. I'm not going to try and find people by man or woman, but don't be the yes person, the person who can't say no, because kind of the moral in the end. I'm getting kind of jumping to the end, but we can come back and talk about everything. It's okay to say no to anybody, including your friend,
Cosmic.
if you have more
Cosmic.
pressing things.
Cosmic. No. Just
Okay, that's
no.
fine.
See? It's easy. It's just like that.
Over here crying in depression into my pillow. Time I'm gonna fall asleep tonight.
I feel nothing.
Okay, let's circle back and actually explain why we're saying it's okay to say no.
Well, it's okay to say no because Pinky, in this case, was finalist in the Jelly Juggernaut competition of whatnots and making cakes and other confectionery goodness. In this case, it was like a 6-layer cake or something.
Also, it's apparent that Fluttershy is the go-to foal sitter for some reason. Because a couple times now, we have seen her interact or babysit foals.
Well,
Nightmare. Not just any foals. The Nightmare foals.
the first time when she babysat Cutie Mark Crusaders, she volunteered. That's not really her being the go-to foal sitter. She volunteered, and then impressed them by getting rid of the cockatrice and not turning to stone and such. So them going there is no longer hard because she can control them. But the first one, she wasn't even supposed to take care of them. She volunteered. So I'm thinking this possibly happened with the quote unquote nightmare foals, as you put it. She probably volunteered and like, well, this didn't work out at all. So it was either that she volunteered herself again and didn't work out again, or somebody saw what great work she did with the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and either Rarity referred her, or they, like I said, they saw it and like, oh, she'd be a great full sitter, and then, yeah, not a good idea. Poor Fluttershy.
I mean, it could also just be the idea that she's good with animals, so she must be good with kids.
That was the That was the problem she had when she did the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Good with animals, good with kids. No, not really.
Those were
only
not
one
kids.
of those is true.
Those were demon spawn.
Well, the ones in the Pony Life, I was just talking about the CMCs. When she said good with animals, good with kids, I'm like, one of these things just isn't right here. One of these things is not true.
Also, do you think as many times as Pinkie Pie blows up, there'd be a lot of more confetti laying around Sugar Cube Corner? Just saying.
Yeah.
It's magic confetti. It just sort of disappears.
What if I need confetti for like a birthday party and I tell Pinkie Pie to explode a couple times and then I ask her, you got any confetti? She explodes and she rains down confetti, but then it just disappears and I'll be like, okay, where's more? Can I get some confetti, please? And she'd be like, just trying to. I'll just take her with me to the party and have her explode a couple times.
Well, as long as she's got her, party cannon, which we have seen 0 times yet in the episodes. Now she's got her party cannon. No confetti is going to be, spread all around the place, or you're not going to have a real party.
The party cannon isn't necessary anymore. She is the party cannon.
Well, that's no fun. There's a party cannon for a reason. I mean, there's a party cannon for a reason, so keep the party cannon. I want to see the party cannon. Oh.
Anyway, the real story is that Pinkie Pie has a time limit, and she's about to practice on her cake before heading to the Juggernaut. but her friends pull her away in different tasks, and she runs out of time. And when she gets to the Juggernaut, they decide to help her instead of letting her do it alone, because they were the ones that felt bad after pulling her away. And she gets disqualified because she was supposed to do it by herself, not have other people helping her.
But we get a reprieve near the end of the episode as well. Remember?
Do I? Do you?
I do. Near the end of the episode, we also get another magical invitation for Pinkie Pie to join in another competition that does allow friends and helpers.
Yeah, the something with chefs in it, so it
Oh,
allows.
yeah, I can't remember the
Mo-
freaking names.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember the Jelly Juggernaut competition one because that's been going on since episode 1. So, but yeah, the several chefs can help you make your confectionaries and whatnot competition. Let's call it that. The too many cooks competition.
Yeah. Well,
Can I point out that Dashi, who was sick, helped out in making this cake, which is a big no-no in
Oh, yeah,
any
it's-
sort of kitchen.
that's highly unsanitary, yes. And these days where being sanitary is everything, yeah, that's
Meh.
kind of a downer on that. Make it's pretty much telling kids that, hey, if you're sick, you go into that kitchen and you help your parents cook. It doesn't matter if you're sneezing, coughing, or just, you know, upchucking everything in sight. You go in there and you flip those burgers, you mash those potatoes, and you grill those hot dogs.
Put burgers in a kitchen? Okay, if you say so.
Hey,
Take your
if
word
it's
for
raining
it.
outside, you got no choice.
If it's raining outside, I usually get me a nice hot bowl of soup because if it's raining outside, it makes me feel like it's time for soup because it only takes 2 minutes to make. So yeah.
Or pizza.
Yeah, but pizza takes longer to make unless it's already, unless it's like pizza from the day before. But pizza takes longer to make than soup.
Anyways,
It
get
takes me
back to the
2 minutes to
frosting.
make a bowl of soup and 20 minutes to make a pizza.
Something else we noticed in this episode is that we now have full evidence of canon cinematography in the Pony Life world, as Twilight does bring in some films. But what's really out of canon for Twilight is not being fully prepared.
Yeah, she mentions it's the first time she has procrastinated in forever. I'm like, really? Twilight is the most tightly wound pony I have ever met. Even Moonbeam isn't that bad, or whatever her name is. Moon Dancer, that's it.
Twilight, on her schedule, it says procrastinate for the plot convenience.
Something like that. Yeah, I went down. It's like, you procrastinated? Oh, my whole world is falling apart. This never happens.
Do you think it's odd that the fact that they have what we call pony tablets or whatever they're called, um,
They're smartphones.
their smartphones, and we also have uh, traditional films still in this Pony Life world?
I don't see that as odd because I remember when cell phones were big. I mean, I remember kids. I got my first cell phone when I turned 18 and graduated from high school. That was my first cell phone I ever got. I am on my 5th cell phone now since 2018 because one of them broke and stuff like that. But I remember I was in high school and things like sophomore, people were messing around with their phones, but in things like math class, we were still using the projector screen thing
Mm-hmm.
for with the what is it called, the see-through things?
Oh, the overhead.
Yeah, we're using the overhead,
Overhead
projector,
Yep.
and you had the can't think what those are called. The things that are see-through, but they have the problem on them that you put on the overhead and then they're on the board. Just can't remember what those are called.
Slides.
Can't think what those are called.
I'm sadly a generation behind, so I never had those.
You never had overheads. Oh man.
We had projectors in college, but we never used those sheets or whatever where you'd shine the light through and it would project it.
Yeah, that's what we had. We still. I'm not like it's okay. It's sophomore year. I'm in math class. We're using the overhead projector to see the problems that we're supposed to practice on and do and try and figure out before the teacher tells us how to do it. And then it's like, this is how it's actually done. But they're phone, I'm like, how far apart are we in generations? I think by senior year that was long gone and that was over. But still, we're using things that have been around since the 70s probably, and these new things are out since 2005, 2004. And it's like, dude, this is ridiculous. Why are we still using technology that is definitely obsolete? So anyway, but yeah, I don't
Yeah,
see that as too awfully odd. In fact, and think about it this way: they've got their smartphones and tablets and whatnot, but they've got the traditional film because the traditional film is older, so they may have not had quote unquote smartphones to take traditional film, and also I I'm sure it works, but I've never seen a movie played on a tablet that can be played on the projection screen.
yeah, film reels are still used in like movie theaters, and they are like the symbol of projection of a image or movie. So I don't see why they wouldn't do that. It's really easy to understand just by a glance.
But what's interesting to think is also that today most movie theaters have gone digital to avoid, warping, fading, and sound issues.
Not that that always works.
Well, we're supposed to reduce the problems anyway. But
Well, I mean, we
now think
that's
when they screen movies in Hollywood, I'm sure they still use traditional filming, traditional film, not traditional filming, but I'm sure they use traditional film. But most of the movies that we would go see around here have indeed gone to digital projectors. Anyways, moving on. The next part of the episode, we see Rarity now stepping in with her problems, with, of all things, to go to Pinky for, um, pretty much doing a DIY project. I mean, carpentry, styling tiles. I mean, it's just all over the place. And Rarity chooses to go to Pinky for this, which
well,
seems.
actually, it was a redesign of Sugar Cube Corner, and that was the first day that Pinky. I believe that was like the day before. You had to definitely know when the episodes are happening, but Pinky was in the next episode. We'll find out it'd be her first day of taking over Sugar Cube Corner from the Cakes. I'm jumping to that episode, but I'm jumping right back to the one we're on. So that's probably why she was choosing colors and tiles and whatnot, because she will soon own Sugar Cube Corner in place of the Cakes, who we never see in the series. So anyway,
But it was kind of forced on her, like all at once, rather than just little by little. And why is Rarity, of all things, just choosing this to do this like right now when they should clearly know what Pinky is up against? But even, I do agree that yeah, Pinkie Pie is going to take over Sugar Cube Corner here real soon. But this is something that should have been addressed over months and months, rather than just, hey, I need you to pick this all out right now.
Yeah, and I found it funny that Pinkie got so overwhelmed. She just said black. Because with Pinkie's personality, you'd expect something like, I don't know, pink?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
sprinkles and streamers and balloons.
In any other situation, Pinkie would have been more than spontaneous enough to be able to pick it all out within, 5 seconds. But unfortunately, at
2.3,
this time,
2.4,
yeah. But in
2.4
any case,
seconds.
she was overwhelmed at the same time. She had already been hit by Fluttershy, Twilight, and Rainbow Dash before Hoof. And now she's faced with this query from Rarity. So it's kind of hard for her to think right now. Even as spontaneous as she is, it's obvious that she does get overwhelmed like anybody else.
Wait, now that I'm thinking about it, did anyone see that any of these ponies used any potions?
Oh,
Not in this episode.
Yeah, I think this has been the only episode where none of the ponies have used potions.
huh.
Yeah.
That
I
is
don't
something.
remember any potions being used in this one. I have to go back and watch it. I haven't watched it since birthday.
I quickly blazed through it before getting on here. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I just caught myself back up on everything.
Wait a minute. Did Applejack bother Pinkie Pie for anything?
Yes, Applejack was moving out furniture to put in new furniture because the whole place is getting redecorated. So she was moving out chairs. And what happened is, as she was trying to move out chairs, Twilight was complaining because now nobody who was going to watch the films had anywhere to sit. So, and even when Rarity fainted on her couch, Applejack's like, now here's another couch I got to move all by myself with Rarity still on it. So, yes, Rarity, Applejack was trying to move out pieces of furniture so Rarity could come in and do her thing, and then I'm guessing either moving new pieces of furniture or moving the old pieces of furniture. But sometimes when people redecorate, they move out all the stuff in the room, and then they put the stuff that was in the room back after they've finished. Like when my dad painted the dining room at the house on Kaufman, he moved out, you know, the dining room table and the chairs and the other pieces of furniture, painted it, and after it dried, he put the stuff right back. So that kind of deal.
Yeah, I think AJ was moving all the furniture out for the furniture that Rarity was going to get.
Yeah, that's what was going on. She was moving out the old furniture before she could move in the new furniture when it arrived, if it hadn't arrived already.
You'd think you wouldn't do all this stuff at the same day because you're trying to pick colors and then you want to get the furniture before you move out the old stuff, but I don't know.
What with Copper was saying, picking out the new design for the inside should have been done months in advance and figured out beforehand instead of all sprung on you at the same time. Color palettes and backsplash and tiles, that should all be figured out before you actually start moving stuff around.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Paints and wallpapers and designs and whatnot.
Because I mean, you have to think about it. I do work in the construction area of life, and to deal with something like that, I mean, if it's not done like the minute you have the idea that something like this is going to happen, you pounce on it and you start picking out stuff, making designs, setting out graphs, architectural blueprints, I mean, you lay it all out as quickly as possible because they will change over that course of time. Now, if it had made sense for Rare to say, "Hey, Pinkie Pie, are you sure about everything that you picked out?" And if Rare did come forward at that time and ask those questions, and things had already been picked out, laid out, and everything like that, that would have made more sense. Like if there were any last minute changes. But I mean, it's like Rarity procrastinated, which is still, that's another thing that's way out of character for Rarity, is to procrastinate as well, especially on projects like this, especially for your friend, nonetheless.
Yeah, but Rarity always seems to work under a deadline anyway. So this was nothing new, in my opinion. Procrastination, not so much, because she seems to, when she's always making deadlines and stuff, making ends meet to get stuff done at a certain time. She's always working on some really tight fitting deadline, like when she was making the headdress for Sapphire Shores and stuff. She was working late to the night before when she made her brand new hotel. How shall I put it? Her brand new line made out of hotel, fabric and stuff and things like that. She was working really to the line, so that didn't seem too out of um out of character to me. She was just working really close to the bar, which to me seemed normal. But maybe I'm wrong.
Anyways, into the second part of the episode, we finally get Celestia calling Pinkie Pie and telling her that, hey, where you at? Can you hurry up? Show's starting soon. Like, now. So, you know, Pinkie Pie has a mental come apart, and she, well, she kills all her friends at the end. No. I'm kidding. I was gonna say a few different things, but I don't know if they'd be really appropriate. But anyways, Pinkie Pie has a mental breakdown. Her friends finally realize that, hey, maybe we've been just a teensy bit selfish. And then they all show up at the competition, ready to work hard and save the day, each throwing in their own parts, of course. Uh, except for Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash just kind of hovers away, if you will.
Rainbow would have been better just sitting on the sidelines, I really think, since she was sick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
The whole deal with Rainbow Dash, I don't think the joke carried too well or aged too well in this instance. Because I'm pretty sure this episode was pre-COVID.
I don't think she had COVID. She had the sickness of the flu. I think it was more.
No. What I mean is the whole deal with COVID. If this had been written during COVID, this episode would not have aged well at all.
Not what I'm saying. Anyway.
Okay. Anyways. But as Cosmic Pros did mention before, that they they finally give the finished dessert to Celestia. She eats it, she loves it, but then they get that rude awakening saying that you're disqualified in a very nonchalant way.
This is the individual competition, not the group competition, I believe was the exact words of Celestia. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's verbatim, but that's at least paraphrased, if otherwise. Although Pinky tries to protest and says doesn't say that anywhere, and so it's like we've had that sign up since the show began. It shows that groups are not allowed, individuals are. So it's like that's a really weird way to have a sign, but okay. Because I look at the sign, I'm like, that sign has 0 words on it. It says nothing at all. Put words and people will understand better. Come on, Celestia. Don't procrastinate. You're the princess. Figure that one out. Don't procrastinate.
I mean, have you seen the Gen 4 writing? It's either a bunch of scribbles or it's mostly just pictures.
I understand. It's just, come on. Come on. That picture could have been a lot more, could have been a lot more clear than what it was. Perfectly. It's just, come on. This is a picture. These are kids who are, below the age of 10, probably some of them below the age, but probably in kindergarten, pre-K mostly, who are watching it. But it's like, come on, these kids don't understand that. The kids might understand the picture, but us old folks are, or old, we don't understand the picture unless we look at it for a couple seconds. It takes us. We weren't born in the age of memes and such from the internet and things like that. It takes us a while to figure out what the picture is saying. Let's put words. That's how we learned stuff back in the 80s and 90s. Words, not pictures. The kids before us learned from pictures because they had comic books. We don't. Comic books are kind of a thing of the past now. Even today, when the 80s are jumping back in, and comic books are a big thing. Not a lot of places around these parts sell comic books. It's really sad.
Anyways, we move on to our final episodes, if you will. Well, the first one, of course, being the death of a sales pony.
No, that's the second one.
And for those of you who don't know, there is this is for those of you who aren't quite as cultured as some of us, if you will, well, not cultured, I would say, but those who have not experienced the theater, this is actually a play on a playwright called Death of a Salesman, which is an interesting playwright. If you have any interest, I would highly suggest on checking it out. I won't spoil it for you.
I'm not cultured.
Well, if you feel up to it, just search around on YouTube a little bit. Death of a Salesman. It's actually a pretty interesting story. It has nothing really to do with this episode, but it is interesting to say the least. Anyways, moving on. Cosmic.
Are we talking about the 2-part kind of last one?
Yes.
Okay. And then the 2-part last one, I'm forgetting what the first episode is called since it's different. The second one is Death of a Sales Pony. But in this one, the big deal is that how do I put it? Fluttershy more or less is trying to get a troop started, kind of like a Girl Scout troop, but not the same exact thing as that. But anybody, you remember what the troop was called? Because that would really help me out.
Oh shoot! Something Scouts.
Trail Trotters.
Yeah,
Trail Trotters. That's it. So she's trying to make a Trail Trotter troop, much like a Girl Scout troop. So, and she's wanting to get the most merit badges, if you will. Meet her, I guess, if you want to say, animal hero, Fantastic, who happens to be a dolphin, who plays in such roles as Roger the Good Dolphin, where he played Roger, and in Hamlet, where he played Hamlet. as she says. It's like, well, yeah, Roger the Good Dolphin. I hope he played Roger, and in Hamlet, I'm not sure exactly how he played Hamlet, but okay, I guess it was Hamlet underwater with breaks to the surface because, as we all know, dolphins have to breathe oxygen, much as humans do. So anyway, throughout these two episodes, which are very closely related, Fluttershy is determined in any way possible to meet her animal hero Fantastic, doing whatever she can to get as many merit badges as she can, and in the Death of the Sales Pony episode, to get sell as many cookies as she can. She becomes crazy and things like that, and Pinkie Pie starts to release a funny anecdote, which I really want to hear the whole ending of that, but we'll get to that as we get more into the second episode. But first episode, it turns out that there is a Girl Scout troop, or a Trail Trotters group in this case, that there is an age limit restriction, and the others of the main six, excluding Fluttershy, really don't have the heart to tell her. So they more or less try to fool Fluttershy into thinking that Trail Trotters and that she's just earning merit badges out the wazoo, and so is everybody else. But like a quick reflexes and the great questions merit badge, which I think is just ridiculous. Great questions merit badge. I'd have one of those. I have several of those, in fact.
Okay.
So
I have the quickest and best solution for this. Okay. And scene. Fluttershy, could you please come over here real quick? Have Fluttershy sit down next to us. And Fluttershy, we got this notice in the mail about your Trail Trotters application, and it says right here that you're old. You're too old.
Now, as someone who has been in sort of a scouting thing, the age limit for most scouting things ends at 18, which tells us that all our ponies are over 18.
That's hot.
Or at least most of them, which, if in my case, that doesn't actually seem too odd. When I look at it, I feel that Rarity's the oldest, probably in her late 20s, if not, 30s. When I thought about, the show, I thought, well, it seems to me that since all ponies live on their own, that they're probably 18 or older. I thought, Rainbow Dash is probably the youngest one, maybe at 18, 19 years old, because she's still kind of tomboyish, which is what she's supposed to be, but she's also kind of, oh, I'm better than everybody else because she hasn't had enough, quote unquote, time in the real world, as it were. When I think about it, I think all the ponies are, older than, uh, older than, uh, Rainbow. I think all the other ponies are past the point of 18. Maybe Rainbow is 18, like I said. I think everybody else is older because they're all, from, away from home, living on their own, got their own houses, and except for Pinkie Pie, who kind of lives above Fear Cube Corner, but she's out on her own too. And um, I'm thinking, Fluttershy says she's a year older than Pinkie Pie anyway, so I'm thinking Fluttershy, she's got her own house out in the woods and feeds the critters and whatnot. I think, in my opinion, the ponies all are out on their own and are all too old for trooping, as it were.
Well, hold on. Before we go any further with that statement, think back to what we learned in Generation 4. We know for a fact that we heard that Fluttershy specifically said that she was older than Pinkie Pie. Now, you think about this too, is when we see how when Rainbow did her first Rainboom, you look at the body structures of each individual pony. We know that Twilight was taking her magic exam. We know Pinkie Pie was out in the middle of the field doing her rock chores. We know Rarity had been just given the ability to find gems with her horn and was dragged to find a rock. That's right, a rock. And remember, we see Fluttershy as apparently at this time was the tallest because she had the longest legs. And if we can base it off that by looking at each individual pony, from what we can see, AJ also had gone out on her own to see her uncle and aunt in Trottersdale.
No, she'd gone to Manhattan to see her uncle and Aunt Orange.
Okay, fine. So I don't remember all the names that well. But in any case, if we could base it off that, if we assume that Fluttershy is the oldest, I could only think that it's Fluttershy, AJ, Rarity, Pinkie, Twilight, and then Rainbow Dash.
Well, remember this too. Fluttershy was a very weak flyer, so she probably went to Junior Speedster's flight camp several times because she doesn't fly a lot, not even in the regular show. So she may have been there and she was an older pony, or she may have just been there several times. You know, she may have walked more, making her legs more strong. But once again, we're really getting off subject here. It doesn't matter their ages or anything. We'll just get back to
we're basing it off like
trail.
When we learned that when Fluttershy has been denied, then we have to assume of the age group that all of the main 6 are in, because they're relatively close to the same age.
Yeah, we can discuss ages later. I have a theory, but yeah, we can talk about that later. But I do want to point out that all this whole mess would have been completely avoided if AJ did not commit a felony and then lie about it.
Oh yeah. You know, our favorite honest AJ has become the famous AJ playwright. Or plagiarism, if you will.
You don't open somebody else's mail. That's the whole problem. That's a class 1 felony. You're going to pony jail.
Yeah, if they all waited for Fluttershy to come in, which was only like, a minute later, then she would have seen it, she would have been upset, but, she would have gotten over it.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't have gotten the death of a sales pony episode.
But you have to admire their friends. They were trying to soften the blow. They already knew that this was going to come out eventually, but what they were just trying to soften the blow with the best they could with soft baked goods, if you will.
Yeah, the beginning.
I see the next part, the deaths of the sales pony, as a completely different view than you guys with, oh yay, let's just bake cookies. There's a huge argument, debate, anger issue with Girl Scouts on their selling of cookies and how it's basically slave labor.
Wear all those cool costumes and sound so happy to give you cookies. There's no possible way. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. That's because our world has gotten so biased on everything. That one song, "Baby It's Cold Outside," that's seen as sexist. I mean, come on. That's bullcrap. It's a Christmas song that was done X amount of years ago. Don't tell me that it's a sexist song. That's stupid.
No, the thing is, with the sales of death of a sales pony and the cookies related to the Girl Scouts, the whole debate isn't like any sort of sexist thing or anything like that. No, it's the cookie sales go straight to the top whatever order of operations, and then it gets fed back into the troops. And so a lot of the scouts will lose about, well, they'll only get maybe at most 20% of what they actually make from money back into actual scouting activities.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was just saying something from a different point of view, that the whole world has gotten into that kind of a mentality that this is bad and this is wrong, and I was just pointing at something different that wasn't the same. I understand exactly what you're saying with the slave labor kind of debate, that this is, you know, that the closest comparison we can make to it is the kid working in a sweatshop for 10 cents a day, where, the product actually costs, 10 $10 to purchase in a more developed country, but the kid only makes 10 cents a day. I understand where you're coming from with the whole thing. It's just, I was just pointing at a different thing of view was easier for me to explain.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
More?
Good times.
Yeah,
Well,
Death of a Sales Pony. I think it was interesting how not only Fluttershy became a raving lunatic, because that's really not how we ever see her as, even in some of the Gen 4 stuff, where she does go a little bit nuts, but not become as a raving, lunatic, dictator, czar, ruler of all things,
mhm.
troop trotter cookies and whatnot. I think it was interesting how all the ponies seem to have their own, how they all more or less streamlined the five main things for cookies, instant delivery, tracking, online order kind of things, and the spin-off fashion design that Rarity had, that was interesting. I thought that kind of stuff. I thought that was a very good way to chock full everything. I'm thinking, man, more companies, that they want to become a monopoly. This is how you take stuff over.
Well, something else too to think about in the episode is the fact that this is the closest thing that we've had to Fluttershy having some sort of job or occupation. We have nothing. I mean, throughout the entire Generation 4 series, we don't really know what Fluttershy does to support herself. Sure, she was a teacher, but that's wasn't really established until season 8. So what did she do before that? Was she just an
She
animal
lives off.
caretaker? We don't
Yeah,
really
she lives
know.
off the land, dude. She practically lives off the land and things like that. She makes bits somehow. I'm not sure how. Maybe taking care of sick animals for people. Like she's a secondary veterinarian or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, that does point. That does put a good point, because uh she does buy stuff, because in the Iron Will episode she does make her way to the market to buy stuff for Angel's special, you know, whatever. Anyway, yeah, that makes a good point. That's something we'd have to look into.
Well, something that actually another Brony analyst touched on, uh, Firebrand and Eliora in their review, when they reviewed the episode of when Fluttershy's brother comes to call, Eliora mentioned that that Fluttershy could be on welfare because I mean, Equestria does have a form of government, so they would also have taxes in place.
Let's not
So
get on that. Welfare and My Little Pony. Let's not even start. Let's not even think about that. That's a good point, but still, come on, welfare and My Little Pony.
I,
I know, I understand they're a society. They're egalitarian. It's just, let's not get on. Fluttershy having to sign up for Section 8 and welfare and that kind of stuff, because she might as well sign up for disability too, because she can't speak in front of crowds.
go ahead, Sol.
yeah, I was thinking that Fluttershy was like a animal rehab facility, or something like where people save animals from abused owners. Like I always got that sort of vibe from her, where she will rehabilitate these animals back to going into the wild, or to give them back to, or sell pets to better owners.
But
Now,
the
I don't
question
think
is,
she.
where does her income come from, though? Assume the only thing that we really saw was her taking care of the animals themselves, never really having people, or not ponies, not really ever having ponies bring their pets to her as a form of business.
Well,
So
that's
It
not entirely true. She remember that Rarity brought Opal to her twice in the same episode where she takes care of the CMCs. She brings Opal back to Rarity, and then Rarity asks her to take care of Opal at the very end of the episode as well. So some characters do bring their animals there. I would guess since Rarity did it, her other friends would also do it too. Aloysius and Tank and so on and so forth, Winona and that kind of thing. I'm guessing that since I've never known dogs to be really fond of apples, I'm not saying that dogs don't eat apples. We had a dog that would eat everything. Apples, sticks, plastic and all. And anyway, but maybe she makes certain food for animals, and that's how she makes money. Because she knows the most about animals, so perhaps she makes a special kind of food for Winona. A special sort of dog food that makes Winona strong, chipper, and whatnot. Because as dogs get older, they get less chipper and
well, that
whatnot.
would lead more into her being an herbalist. She would have to know about herbs, and that's where we have Zecora, and which she does interact with Zecora. So she'd have to be familiar with herbs in order to be able to manufacture any kind of foods, produce, and I mean, an herbalist and a gardener is what she would need to be.
And she does live on the edge of the Everfree Forest, so Zecora is close by.
She could also be a nonprofit where people donate money to her to help animal sanctuaries, or she could be something like a forest ranger.
She probably does get nonprofit because if you remember the episode with the pony tones, people just adopted the animals outright. So, that could be a big deal there. I mean, there's just so many ways that this could go that she somehow makes a profit of something. Because, like I said, in the Iron Will episode, she goes to the market and buys things like asparagus and whatnot. Actually, she didn't buy the asparagus. They stole the asparagus. My bad. Um, but she's like dropping bits and all sorts of stuff for way too much, like 12 bits for one cherry. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Well, leaning back into it, we've talked about her possibly having an occupation. So if she was to go into the Scouts, what would be her end goal? We already know that she wanted to meet somebody. She wanted to earn the badges. But if she wanted to work towards that, she'd become a troop leader, and then a civil servant, I think is what it's called.
What?
One after you've been in the Scouts for so long, you can be what's called a civil servant. Not really a servant per se, but someone that worked for society as a park ranger. Because
I've
if
never
you
heard
if you
of
work,
this at all.
yeah.
I
Well,
know that when you're in the Cub Scouts, which is the one for boys, after you pass Weeblos, you become an Eagle Scout, and that's the highest rank you can get.
yeah, and with the Scouts, with that Scout ranking, it opens access and doors to uh, wildlife opportunities, like being a park ranger, being a
Never heard of that.
zoologist, and even more so because you've already had that training in certain areas, and being prepared for that as an Eagle Scout can also be a reference point in your job application in the future.
Yeah, you put that on your resume, but you can go to school and never have interacted with an animal and still become a zoologist.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying this could be. It can also open doors because being as part of the Scouts, it's not just about earning badges, but also gaining those traits and those characteristics and oh, excuse me, those abilities to be able to do certain things in that specifically apply to being a zoologist, being an animal caretaker, working as a park ranger, or any kind of wildlife expertise. If I'm making any sense.
To a certain extent, some of those, I think you don't need to be an Eagle Scout for it. Eagle Scout seems more like the camping, hiking, forest ranger kind of thing, not more of the zoologist, animal, wildlife kind of thing. Because I don't know of any. I've never heard of a scout or an Eagle Scout going out and capturing a panda or a wolf or anything like that. The wild, I'm pretty sure they go out and say, "There's a bear. We need to kind of prepare for this, and we need to move to a different location where there aren't bears. Hang our food in a tree or whatever you're supposed to do with bears." Because I don't go camping at all. Because outside is overrated. I've said many a times.
See, I understand what you're saying about like getting the highest rank in your scouting so that you can get some sort of sponsorship for getting a degree in wilderness. But you have to also remember you age out at 18 when you would be going to college. Fluttershy is already older than this and would be going to college anyway if that was her dream. So she wouldn't need this extra scholarship going right now.
Yeah, but she doesn't really know that yet. She still thinks that she's in a troop when they finally tell her death near the end of the Death Cells Pony. Selling cookies is not as fun as it should be, and we can't be in a troop. We are out the age restriction. They kind of tell her that at the end of that episode, not before. It's like, oh,
Yeah, and the reason why Fluttershy wanted this, she stated it outright, is she wanted to meet a dolphin. You'd think that
fantastic.
you'd think that even if she aged out of the scouting thing, she would still be able to meet them because she knows a fashion person has a lot of connections, Rarity, and she knows a literal princess, so she could get connections if she wanted.
Hmm.
I think sometimes Fluttershy is a bit overeager and more or less tries to be independent like her friends. So that's why she felt the need to meet Fantastic in her own specific way.
And that's exactly the reason why they gave her this ability to grow and shrink in this series. As we do see, when she gets overly excited, angry, or anything like that, she grows. When she gets depressed or sad, she shrinks. And we get oh, what's the name of what is the name of the Indian superhero that can grow and shrink in the Justice League?
Well, the Indian chief. That's
Yeah,
seriously his name, Indian chief,
that's it.
and he can't shrink. He can grow. The person you might be thinking of is Ant-Man from Marvel, who can grow
No,
and
no, no, no,
shrink.
no, no, no. I was thinking of the Indian chief. I thought he could
Well,
shrink
he
too.
he can't shrink. He can only grow larger. It's better if you say Ant-Man, who can grow and shrink.
Yeah, but everybody knows Ant Man. Not many people know about the Indian chief. See, I couldn't
Because
even remember
because
what he was
Ant-Man's
called.
cool. Because Ant-Man's cool. Because Marvel is cool. DC is not nearly as cool as Marvel. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. And they will probably never portray the Indian chief in any movie just for the fact that he is Indian. And because it's a really bad stereotype, and because I get away with that.
Also,
I am
because
Party.
he's not very well known.
No.
He's a lesser one of the Super Friends.
But in any case, having Fluttershy grow and shrink, do you think that was possibly a trait that they incorporated because we had Flutter Hulk in that one comic book episode?
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Power Pony.
was there any other episode, because I can't think of it, other than that episode where we had Flutter Hulk, where Fluttershy grew?
Well, I won't say grew so much because she was the same size, but you know how when you can take a camera and you can pan away from the perspective point to make things look bigger. You know it stays at the same spot, but you pan further away, so it seems bigger. That happened, but I believe that is the only time we saw that in the Power Ponies episode. I don't think she ever got bigger in any other episode. The only other thing that she ever happened to her, she became Flutterbat and Flutter Guy.
So
That was the only two things that she ever changed into.
So, from what we've seen, does Fluttershy go through the most transformations compared to the other main six?
Fluttershy
Both
goes to the
emotionally
most.
and
Yes.
physically?
I would say Fluttershy goes to the most. Yes. Pinkie Pie would be second. Pinkie Pie would be in a close second too. But Fluttershy goes through transformations through Gen 4 and 4 5. The probably the most more physically because the Flutterbat, Flutter Guy, Flutter Hulk, where Pinkie, if we're going to put the Power Ponies in it, we've got to take Pinkie's transformation there to Philly second. But the only other Pinkie I can think of is when she in the Feeling Pinky Keen episode where she changed her face to a Gen 1 pony, which is only two transformations there. Uh, Emotionally, we also have Pinkie with the poofy hair, happy Pinkie, and the straight long hair, sad Pinkie. It's about two.
Don't forget the fleece Pinky when she stepped into a different dimension when helping. I think it was the donkey.
Stepping into a different dimension, helping the donkey. Are you talking about Cranky?
Fleece Pinky.
Fleece Pinky. I'm confused. I'm not. Is that season 9?
No, it wasn't season 9. It was earlier. With Matilda and I forget
Cranky.
his name.
Cranky.
Cranky.
I'm still not sure where she went into a different quote unquote dimension in that one. I'm not. I don't remember that part. I'm not remembering that part. Not like I watched the episode yesterday, but yeah. Anyway, I would say Fluttershy has more different changes than Pinkie does, but Pinkie's in a close second.
Yeah, anyway, I feel like the death of a sales pony was more of a it was more for a story for the mothers to not be sort of pushing their children too hard to the point where they don't enjoy something anymore than it was then a story for the kid.
Don't be a momzilla.
Agreed. But we do eventually get the big reveal to Fluttershy after she learns that the badges were not real, and she is too old. Of course, we did get to see some the interesting cookie badges, which of course Soul mentioned earlier. But the flip around turns out to be that Fluttershy appreciates her friend's effort and enjoys the cookie badges just as much as the Trail Trotters badges.
Yeah, I think that sums up all 3 of the episodes.
Technically 4, but if you want to get really technical, technically 6. But I'm not counting anymore, honestly.
Let's not get technical. Let's just call it the episodes that we reviewed this week.
I just go by names. It gets too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
The episodes we reviewed this week.
Yes. After nearly a month of waiting, which we do apologize for, and hopefully you enjoyed joining us here today as we reviewed Pony Life episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, wait, sorry, I was counting the number of actual episodes that were played. Anyways, the episodes of Bad Things number 3, which involved Rarity, the Pinkie Pie Hyper Helper, the Trail Less Trodden, and the Death of a Sales Pony. Any final closing statements, Cosmic Pros?
Closing statements. Man, I've never been asked this question before.
Anyways, moving
not,
on. Mountain Soul, any closing statements?
Oh, thanks.
That's all, folks.
No,
Okay, I do
you
wanna-
go ahead. You go ahead, Cosmic.
Okay, I'm gonna try and kind of close out with this. Next month, we will bring up an update about this. But next month, we may be reviewing the My Little Pony: A New Generation film that will be showing on Netflix on September 24th. Keep your eyes open. We'll try and update it sometime soon. We're gonna have to talk about it, and if you do see it, I would suggest you can watch the episode, see what we think about it. If not, there will be spoilers that we will no doubt up. So hopefully you can watch it before we would post the video. But like I said, we're going to talk about it and see if we're going to do it a month from now or if we'll do it somewhere further down the line. So just keep your ears open and just wait to hear an update from us. That's all I got.
Alrighty. Well, we thank you all for joining us here on Omega Republic's Pony Life Reviews. We hope to see you here next time. Thank you.